all the participants here in the week 12 session 3. In this session, we are going to discuss about one of the very important communication aspect, which is considered to be known as the development communication, where it has been identified that the communication is so important and very integral part of any developmental project. So for that reason, a new kind of the approach within the communication has been evolved, that is known as the development communication. And in this session, we are also going to discuss some of the related topics, which is you could say that the subset of the development communication, like participatory development communication, IEC, social marketing, and so on and so forth. So let's start with the topic, that is the development communication. So it is, as I have mentioned, that it's a crucial component of the development. I mean, it has been identified that communication is so important for the development. So development communication is overall is considered to be a process, intervening in the systematic or strategic manner with the either media of print media, radio, television, or any sort of, and through the internet as well, or through some kind of education like the training or literacy, or providing some non-formal education, that is also known as NFE. So for the purpose of positive social change, either through some kind of the mass media, or through some kind of the education, through providing some kind of the education aspect. So the change could be economic, personal, as in any field. It could be in the social, cultural, political, health, so on and so forth. So the development communication is the process of intervening in the systematic or strategic manner with of any kind of the media. So the terminology development communication originally developed in the Asia, and definition, I mean, as per the term development communication, although experimentation has been done in another part of the world. So definitions differ from region to region, but the whole idea is the same. Overall, development communication is relatively younger field of study within the discipline of communication, that the general concept of the communication that we have discussed. And then development communication is considered to be a tool and not as a product. So here we are more concerned about that, what kind of the tool under the development communication we have to use in the different concern area, in a different context, in the different projects. It is always goal-oriented. Development communication is goal-oriented, but once we talk about the general communication, so while we interacting with someone, it's not necessarily is always having certain very specific goal, but development communication, whenever it has been formed or developed, it's always have to have certain goals. The ultimate goal is definitely of higher quality of life of the people in the society, particularly underserved community, and particularly it has been widely used in the developing nation. So reason you could understand once you understand the history. So before coming to the history, let's have a look into some definition. So as the Wilbur and Skimmon in 1964 was the first to recognize the communication could play an important role in the national development of the particularly of the third world country or the developing nation. He believed that mass media supplementing the information resources and exposing people for learning opportunities. He conceptualized the relationship between development communication and economic growth, which has been the main guiding paradigm for development communication. So believing into that, so once the community has to be, get to know about some kind of the programs and policy, getting some kind of the training, and through, getting information, they would transform. Similar, the kind of the definition also been said by or given by Nora Kubrel, which is considered to be more identified definition within the field of development communication. So here, this development communication is considered to be an art and science of human communication applied to the speedy transformation of a country and the transformation of country and the mass of its people from a poverty to a dynamic state of economic growth. Right, and again, if you look into the definition, it's how similar to as the Wilbur has said, that how the development communication is instrumental in bringing change, particularly in the economic area, through by providing some kind of the information and knowledge to the underserved community or underserved areas, that makes possible greater social equality and larger fulfillment of the human potential. So, once you have to make any community develop or grow, so very first thing is about to inform them, educate them, and then what are the different stages of educating them or informing them, that we are going to discuss later on. Again, Rogers in the year 1983 says that development communication refers to the uses to which communication is put in order to further development, and simple and crisp definition which talks that how we can use the communication aspect into bringing development into the larger society. So if we see the background of the development communication, so usually it has been identified that after the post-war, particularly the World War II, the development communication originated and as an international programs and aimed at addressing the challenges faced by the countries in particularly Latin America, Asia and Africa, such as poverty, illiteracy, poor health and inadequate infrastructure. It involves applying communication strategies to promote development in the developing world, rooted in theories of development. It's again important, rooted in the theories of development and social change. It's sought to address the lack of progress in the regions compared to Western countries. So this is what the background, that after World War II, this you all know, and we are all aware about that, how the UN has established, and then how that whole world has taken into as one unit, and developmental perspective has been taken into accounts, where once you talk about the world's development, definitely we have to give in care to those are in the back of the developmental race. The countries like Latin America, the countries, many countries in Asia and Africa, so where the more they are more poor and the more illiterate people are living, in the health condition were at that period of time was not at all good, and infrastructurally they were so poor. So it was like the target of bringing change into these part of the world as part of the developed nation. So that period of the time, it has been identified that informing, educating the community or the members of the community is uttermost important to bring them or pull them out from the whole clutches of the poverty and then illiteracy and all sort of such problems. The very first time the use of this development communication has been happened in the Canada, where one of the first example was the radio forum. Farmers gathered weekly to listen to radio program, discuss printed material. Along with the radio forums or radio programs, where initially it was mainly discussed about the economic aspect, and later on a few more things has been added, like of the social aspects and all. And then while listening to the radio programs and there's those social radio forums, a few printed materials were also distributed for the further discussion after the whole radio forum. So and encouraged with prepared questions, engaged with prepared question, initially created to address food production during the Great Depression of World War II, and the forum also tackled social and economic issue. This model of adult and distance education was later adapted in Asia and India and Ghana. So this Farm Radio Forum is considered to be the very first initiatives in the field of the development communication. Coming to the role of the development communication, so it is considered that it has primarily two very important functions or roles. One is that through development communication, you actually transform the society. This is very first is about the transforming role. So in development communication refers to using communication to drive social change towards a higher quality of life. That is what the major role. And this can be achieved through various means, such as promoting vaccination for infants if it is related to the health, ensuring food security, challenging harmful myths surrounding social or religious customs. If it is believing that some kind of the religious or social custom is hindering into the field, into the development, particularly in the health aspects. So communication serves as powerful tool to inform, educate and motivate communities to adapt practices which is more considered to be more developed and is apt and appropriate for their well-being. Second, very important role of development communication is about socializing role. So socializing role in development communication, preserving or reinforcing the established values, customs and beliefs of society while also fostering positive change and innovation. So it is not about to bringing all together new kind of the things into the community. Rather, whatever the cultural things which has been available, which has been prevailed into the community, so that just to understand those and to make it continue there for them, or as well as if it is need to be some kind of the modification, it has to give us some kind of the fine tune into that. So it helps maintain the identity and sense of belonging within a community by raising awareness about the risk of external influences that may undermine traditional values. So it's about if any kind of things which has been disturbing into their own cultural things, so that need to be, or any kind of the challenges that need to be addressed initially, that could be possible only once they are educate and make them aware. At the same time, it highlights the richness of society's own culture and aspiration, ensuring that these values are respected and can evolve in the face of the new ideas. So communication thus play a crucial role in balancing tradition with the progress. So keeping the traditional things and values intact along with the socialize them into the new set of the aspect or new set of the social norms and values which is considered to be important to incorporate in their own life, like health education and disease prevention, improved agricultural practices, keeping their own traditional mode of agricultural practices, and if it is required, so introduce some kind of the new practices. Environmental awareness, that's so important, because at that time, if you know, after Second World War, and that time environmental discussions were started discussing. Before that, there was no discussion on environmental issues, as they were not identified as it is an issue. So environmental awareness is important. So to make anything sustainable or to make the community more sustainable, gender equality, education for all. So see, these all legal rights awareness, family planning, reproductive health, financial literacy, economic empowerment, disaster preparedness. So if you look into these aspects, so even the gender equality and all, so you could understand that these development communication actually tries to desocialize those social reality which is considered to be rethink on, and so then re-socialize the new phenomena and then make the community educate and aware about the new aspect, maybe in the agricultural practices or in the health aspect, or whichever and wherever it feels to be intervened. So these are the two very important role of the development communication. Now coming to the philosophy of development communication. So the philosophy are like the purposive, pragmatic and positive. So what does this purposive means? In development communication, one looks for the specific behavioral aiming to achieve a specific development outcomes, such as improving health could be, or in the education field or economic conditions. So it's very purposive, means it's always goal oriented, aiming to achieve specific development outcomes, right? So the communication strategies are so designed to influence behavior, attitudes and policies to support developmental objectives that is related to those areas. Positive. How does the philosophy of development communication says that this tool is very positive? So definitely in development communication, positive values to attach to what communication is about. It focuses on solution and empowerment rather than merely identifying problems. So here in this development communication is not just to identify the problem, it's also to intervene into those concerned area. So it seeks to bring about positive social change by promoting beneficial practices, addressing issues like poverty, inequality, health problem, and encouraging sustainable development. So that's why it's more about the positive. Next is pragmatic. Pragmatic actually emphasizes the effective methods that worked in real world situation, considering cultural, economic and social factors to make sure communication is impactful and relevant. So that is what the pragmatic means, practical and purposeful. So pragmatic is mainly identify the things as more practical. So development communication is practical and action oriented. Applying the communication strategies are realistic and adaptable to local context. So you don't use any such tools into that community where which is not practical to adapt. Maybe if you're going into the tribal community, you could not go with the any kind of the ITC, information technology communication aspect, or using the kind of you cannot ask them to send the mails or emails, that kind of thing. You can go at that time with some kind of the folklore, some kind of the puppet shows, nukkad natak, which is more appealing to them. So depending upon the social context, you have to develop the tools. So that is what it has to be more pragmatic and practical as per the context of the society. So these are the three philosophy that whenever we have to develop the tool on, we have to keep in mind these philosophy, and this is what a very integral philosophy of the development communication, which actually define the nature of the development communication, which is pragmatic, positive, and very purposive. Now coming to the strategies of development communication. So in the context of developing countries particularly, one should give in keen consideration to cost benefit factors before selecting the right strategies. Keeping in mind, this is very important, that you have to keep in mind the cost effective strategy or cost effective tools you have to select. So you should not go with some kind of expensive, because when you use the expensive tool, it is easier for you to go with, but and many times it is not appropriate as per the societal context. So two things keeping in mind is very important. One is societal context, and second is about it has to be a cost effective, right? So to make your project more pragmatic or practical. So in the modern world, there are a number of new technologies, media and technology, techniques are every day evolved, right? And available to the communication strategy planner. One has to evaluate these alternatives available to them, and using the cost benefit analysis and then administrative feasibility, which is going to be more feasible by their agency. And if maybe they have picked any tool and techniques of the development communication, but that is the first thing is expensive, and another thing, it could be like it's not as per the feasible for the whole agency, unfeasible for the community. So keeping in mind the feasibility, keeping in mind the cost effect and cost benefit, keeping in mind the social context, these are the things which are the important background before coming to the strategies of the development communication. Now there are a few questions which you have to give in answer while you have developing the any tool. So who are the target audience? Either it is men, women, children, adolescent, transgenders, rural, urban, tribal, slum people. So who are they? Even the bureaucrats or the Panchayati Raj members, or who are actually the target audience for whom you are actually developing those tools and techniques for the development communication, to communicate them. So next is about what channels are the audience familiar with, right? So this is again very important, as I have mentioned, that in a tribal area, they cannot go with any kind of the ITC technique. Rather, it's better for them to use any kind of the traditional methods, or then very basic of IEC technology techniques or tools, like the dancing, theatre, puppet shows, nukkad natak. So these are more attractive for them, and they could be easily understand those. Even FGDs, you can go with this. So what should be the language and content of the message? So who are the audience, and what are the channels? A channel again important, and then audience, the nature of the audience, and what should be the language and content of the message. Both the things are important. Medium and then language and then content. Medium we have discussed, language and then content. So which language you are going to use, that either it is in general Hindustani language, or it is particularly to that dialects where of the community belong, or this is very important to keep in mind. And then content of the message, as we have discussed while we discuss about the communication, that it has to be clear, cost effective, keeping in mind all the 7 C's, and then you have to develop the content of the message, right? That it is then it has to be readable, understandable. So then what is the language and what are the content? These two things are again important. And what are the barriers to the free flow of communication? You also have to anticipate what could be the challenges and the barriers would come if I use this tool or method or channel, if I use this. So you have all kind of the planning and anticipation and develop that thing, which mode and then which medium or which language would be better for this audience and for this channel. So this is what the strategies of the DC. There are also some guidelines which has been given by UNESCO. So these guidelines, like the collection of basic data and systematic analysis of the country. So the very first thing is about UNESCO guidelines. I say that to the collection, it has to go with the basic data and systematic analysis. The very first thing is about the systematic analysis of the community, right? Means about the population, the gender, the limitation of the communication, geographical limitation, variety of social structure, ecology, agriculture, transportation, physical communication, mobility, population, electrification, industrial capacity, manpower capacity, means taking about all the community dynamics aspect together, all the capitals of the community together. Now you understand that what are these capitals, right? So like the human capital, social capital, or cultural capital, or technological capital, or physical capital. It could be of any type, right? So as per the UNESCO guideline, this is very important to first to analyze the whole community dynamics and whole community structure and then process. So this helps to understand the country's communication challenges and opportunities. This is overall, I have given the word situational analysis. You have to understand the community and you have to understand the situation at that time in the combination of all the system and then material system together, right? Second suggestion as per the UNESCO is that the production that I have given the term as media mapping. The production of inventory of the present communication resources, including the modern and traditional way, means what kind of the media is available there, and then to analyze that how the different kind of the media is going to consider to be beneficial for the community. Such as inventory should be include the study of the audience, its communication consumption pattern, usually what kind of the communication which is common been addressed by these particular community. So to identify what are the common mode of media, which is a common mode of information getting, so how these communities are involved into getting information through which media, that is what the thing. So this helps to understand the current communication system and audience behaviors. Two things, current communication system and audience behavior, that is very important to understand. That is about the, I have given the term as a media mapping. Next is about the media analysis. So under bracket I have mentioned, this is what I have suggested the term. So media analysis as per the UNESCO is that it helps identify any issues or gaps in the system, such as whether certain groups control the media or if there is a lack of fair representation. So it is about mainly the power structure of the community. So this is what one has to understand, that we all know that particular media is in the control of few powerful people, so they cannot show those things which needs to be air, but that there are some kind of the barriers because they don't allow those news to be come out. So this is what this is called the media analysis. So critical analysis of the present communication politics, now, or lack of the same, either media politics there, or there is a lot of kind of the laissez-faire, means no one is concerned about that, including such consideration as ownership of the media, structure, decision making, etc. So it is very important to do the media analysis. See, as it is the guidelines given by the UNESCO, so usually they are going with very as in the international apex organization, so they are working in every country approximately. So they have to be keen observer on these things of the nations where they are going to work, right? So this as the guidelines, also as an agency we also have to keep in mind which media we have to use, which is free from any kind of the power control. Next is about the communication assessment. So this helps to identify gaps or areas where communication can be improved. So this is mean critical analysis of the communication need of each society, especially in relation to the existing social and communication structure and the uses of communication is put. Means we have to analyze what kind of media is approachable to them, and means what they are using, and what could be the possible intervention in terms of the different media or the medium of the media has been used. So this helps to identify the gaps on the areas where communication can be improved. So where it is like communication assessment. So these are the 4 guidelines given by the UNESCO. Role of media in development communication. So this is again important. So role of media in development communications, when we talk about this, so how in the development, we see there one thing you have to keep in mind in the development communication, having lot of the different subsets of the tools, right? It has a social marketing, it has BCC, behavior change communication, social behavior change communication, it has a participatory development communication, it has social marketing. So major concern of development communication is to communicate for development. And so it will also carry one more thing that is I maybe missed, or maybe I am going to discuss later on. So that is about the education plus entertainment. So it is clubbing both the aspects, education plus entertainment. That is what the way usually the development communication work on. So education plus entertainment. So keeping in mind the education aspect, the nature of the message which has to given to the community, but it has to given in some informal manner, not an in a very normal way of communication. It needs to make it more little interesting so that it is easy to reach to the community. Now, role of media in development communications is again so important to keep in, to understand how and why this development communication uses the different media. So as the mass media, usually in the development communication we use different sets of the communication. So here we are talking about the mass communication mainly. So the role of the media in development communication here means the mass media, as it serves as a bridge between the policymakers, stakeholders and other public, promoting awareness, participation and action development issues. It plays the following 4 responsible role. Circulate knowledge. Through media, we know that it is the maximum people get to know about any information when it is coming out from the media, either through the print media, newspapers or television or the radio. So that will inform people of significant events, opportunities, dangers and changes in the community and countries and the world. So what is going on around the world, we get to know what is happening in the country, election is going on or whatever. So this is what it's actually circulate the knowledge. Provide a forum where the issues affecting the national or community life may be aired. So this is also this is what the part of the media which is in the media part there are usually been in the media, developmental communication is very important part, although how much they are using, that's a different part. So that's what to make some good news. Usually good news is not been aired, so usually good news has never been considered as a news. So but that's not always that you have to air included the good news under the development communication, but the news which has been considered to be important for the community, for the benefit of their growth. So if I give the example, so during 1990s when the television has been started, so there was one program came in Doordarshan, Krishi Darshan. So Krishi Darshan was a program which was aired for to giving information to the farmers, and taking every aspects of their life. I mean, mainly about the agricultural practices, and then it was also involved with some kind of the cultural things. Means in between there was songs happen, and then dances was there, folk dances were there, as education plus entertainment, to keeping in mind these two terms. So Doordarshan in India's national television network, as we must be aware about, launched several programs apart from this Krishi Darshan aimed at educating rural populations. So these programs focused on health campaigns like vaccination also was promoted through Doordarshan, and then the term for the family planning. India is the first country who adopted the family planning. So the slogans came on televisions was like "Hum Do Hamare Do" was so famous. Women's empowerment issues was also taken up to by the development communication. Few movies has also been aired or been developed behind this whole idea of some, circulating some good news, some informing the community, or making the community more knowledgeable. For the national integration, I do remember there was one song came, and it was so nice. Ek chidiya, nek chidiya, dana chugne aayi chidiya. So it was just to symbolize the overall the unity, the importance of the unity to get some kind of the goal. So that way, those were actually the important aspect of the development communications, to create some kind of the positive information or disseminate some good information to the community members, and then teach those ideas, skills and attitudes that people need to achieve for better life. This is the third one. And the fourth very important role of media in under development communication part is create and maintain a base of consensus that is needed for the stability of the state. So, increased awareness of public health issues, encourage social changes and help rural areas, access to educational resources. These were some very important aspect of the development communication. So, in the last of this session, I would like to say that media keeps the development orientation in its perspective. Role of media in which they can perform nowadays, like the disseminating of information, awareness building, facilitating behavior change, promoting civic engagement, advocacy and mobilization, encouraging transparency and good governance. I'm taking this all as an example of what happened, as in the international perspective. And definitely our nation is also followed few, but again the level of so encouraging transparency and good governance, fostering education and skill development, promoting cultural exchange, emerging communication. But the challenges faced by media in development communication is also we have to look into and discuss about. So that lack of accessibility in remote areas. So it happened that many time if you want to communicate into the tribal areas and to the remotest of the remote areas through some television forms or the radio form, radio could be reachable more than the television. So it is difficult to reach over there. And I have also observed in some of the many of the rural areas which is very remote, if the electricity has not been there, so they usually don't have televisions. Or television has been there in one or two houses or one houses merely. So it cannot be reached to everyone. So lack of accessibility in the remote area is the first gap. Second challenge is about the biased or commercialized content, because it's all about the TRP. We all know that every news channel is running behind the TRP. So if it is not for the development of the community, they are not bothered about. So mainly they are concerned about their own TRP, their own earnings. So that is what is about the overall media's concern. But definitely once you look into the national channel, that is the Doordarshan, that has to be unbiased and then less of the commercialized aspect. So this, because of this commercialized content that overshadowing the developmental priorities. Misinformation and fake news. Sometimes this is the issue that misinformation, fake news create a major challenge. In despite of bringing some goodness, it creates lot damages to the society. So this is all about the development communication. In the next or coming session, we are going to discuss more about the different aspects of development communication. Thank you so much.